Hey, my name is Beau. If you're a multi-passionate creator, you have some unique challenges. The main problem that we have as multi-passionate people is lack of focus, lack of follow through, and because of that, we often have a lack of momentum. And this is really a big problem because if you don't have momentum and you're not able to focus for at least a period of time, it's probably going to lead to financial struggles. You're not going to be making the amount of money you need to or want to. And because you don't have those financial resources, that actually prevents you from living in alignment with your multi-passionate nature. Because in an ideal world, if you had unlimited abundance, unlimited freedom, you would be free to express your creativity and kind of follow whatever path you feel like, right? So a lack of financial resources is a huge problem because it takes away your freedom, the thing that you value the most. So I believe if you're a multi-passionate person, you need to take making money very seriously. You need to commit to getting rich, whatever rich means for you. You might have your own definition of that, but you need to make it so you have an abundance of financial resources so that you can live in alignment with your multi-passionate nature, because you're not going to be able to if you don't have the money to be able to afford it. So the way I recommend you solve this is by taking what I call the freedom first approach. And how do I know this stuff actually works? Well, I've scaled my own online business to multiple six figures in profit as a one-man show and as a multi-passionate creator. And I haven't had to sacrifice my creativity in order to do this. I've done it in a way that's very aligned with who I am. So the freedom first approach means profit before passion. We have to make money first before we go chase all of our passions. We have to find the thing that is going to make us the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time so that we can create that financial abundance, so then we can go pursue the other things that we want to pursue. But we're going to have to do this a little bit differently than other people would. If you're not a multi-passionate person, you don't have to worry about the same things that a multi-passionate person does. So we're not going to just try to make money any way we can. We have to be very strategic about the way that we make our money. We have to focus on monetizing, but then automating. So we need to make money, but ideally we need to make money in a more passive and automated sort of way. If it takes all of our time, then that kind of defeats the purpose, because that doesn't give us freedom either. So then we're not living in alignment with who we really are. So that doesn't work. So we need to monetize and automate, and then do something that I call automation stacking. So the way I recommend you do it is you monetize your knowledge. Okay. So you productize your knowledge, turn your knowledge into a product of some kind, ideally like a digital product. Then we want to automate the sales and fulfillment of that product as much as possible so that we can free up our time, so that we have that time and energy to go pursue the other things that we're excited about. And while we're pursuing those other things, that first thing that we did is still generating profit for us. So that first thing we did gave us the freedom that we needed to be our multi-passionate selves and go pursue many paths. But how do we practically do this? Well, there's a few ways to freedom. These are automated income pathways, different ways to make passive income. Now, of course, there's no such thing as 100% passive income, but these are the most passive that you're going to find probably. One is low to mid-ticket automation. So this is where you create low-ticket products or mid-ticket products. These are usually priced between $20 and $300-ish. And these products are really good for multi-passionate people because the fulfillment of the product is automated. So like a digital product, for example, someone buys it and then they get the product delivered to them automatically. And then there's nothing else that you have to do on your end because you already created the product, right? So there's no service delivery, right? So that means you can sell that product thousands and thousands of times and it doesn't take any more of your time and energy to deliver that product, right? So you can basically sell an infinite number of them and your time is not eaten up by that. So now you have freedom to go make other products, right? So that is one of the main things that I've done in my business to have the success I have, is I focus mostly on low to mid ticket products. And then I just focus on selling as many of those as possible. So I'm focused more on the marketing of those things and getting those things in front of a lot of people using ads and content marketing and stuff. And that gives me a ton of freedom. The next option is high ticket delegation. This is where you sell something more expensive, usually at least $3,000 to $5,000. And because it's way more expensive, it's usually easier to make a significant amount of money because you only need a few customers, The problem is this can become a trap if you don't learn how to delegate the work to other people, because you don't want to have to sell this service and then also deliver it. As a multi-passionate person, all your time is going to be eaten up in the service delivery, working with your clients and delivering the service services or whatever you're selling. So that's not going to be very aligned with you. So if you take this path, the high ticket path, you have to become very good at building a team and delegating the work to other people. That's not really my specialty. That's not a path I've taken, but it can work for some people if you're good at that sort of thing. The other one is subscription revenue. So this is where you sell something on a recurring basis, like a software or something, or a membership of some kind. Software is really good for this because the product is kind of automated, the delivery of the product. It's not like you're coaching people or having to manage a community or anything or make a lot of content on an ongoing basis. If you have a software subscription of some kind, that can be very passive. You can just work on the software maybe a few hours a week, update it, do customer service, or hire somebody to do that for you. And you could have a very passive income stream working just a few hours a week. So not every kind of subscription revenue is best for multi-passionate people, because some forms, like a membership site, for example, if you're managing like a community where people pay you every month to be part of some community and they expect like resources from you and coaching and all this stuff, then that's going to eat up a lot of your time too. So you want to find ways to automate the fulfillment of the product or service as much as possible. That's super important for multi-passionate people. You want to automate the fulfillment of the product. You're not going to be able to fully automate the marketing of the product in most cases, but you can get that down to like a few hours a week maybe. But the fulfillment of the product, you also want that to take up as little time as possible so that you're free to pursue other projects. So this is very different than how a lot of people run their businesses. Like if you're taking just general business advice from other coaches and creators out there who aren't maybe multi-passionate people and don't understand the needs of a multi-passionate person, then they're going to be encouraging you to pursue these business models that don't actually fit you, and you're going to hate those businesses. You're going to hate operating them, and you're going to wonder why nothing really works for you. It's because your business model is not aligned with who you are. Now, let's talk about the passion problem, because this can get in the way of us multi-passionate people because we have multiple passions, right? So we often get sidetracked. We might not be able to figure out our niche, for example, like what we want to do, what we want to focus on, what direction we want to go in, because we have like 5 directions that we would like to take all at the same time. But the problem is this shiny object syndrome leads to failure to finish syndrome, meaning we start things, but we never follow through and see them to completion. And this is the biggest problem for multi-passionate people. We are very good at starting things, but not so good at finishing them. And that leads to financial self-sabotage. We never see our projects through to the point where they can actually be successful. And we keep starting over and losing all the momentum that we gained. So that's why for multi-passionate people, oftentimes entrepreneurship feels like this constant grind, like this constant uphill battle, because you're always resetting the clock on yourself. Every time you start over and you ditch that project and you don't see it through, you're basically starting back at zero, and now you got to start the whole thing over again. And that takes a lot of energy to get something going, especially in the beginning, you know? So if you keep changing your direction all the time and you never build enough momentum, that is really hurting you. So you must learn how to focus on one thing and see it through to completion and launch that thing and get some momentum with that thing before you think about doing the next thing. So it's not saying you have to do this one thing forever, but you at least have to give it a reasonable chance to be successful. Like if you don't give it enough time and energy, it's not going to work. So there's no point in even doing it unless you can commit to it for a certain period of time. So if you're launching a product, for example, you have to have the idea for the product. You have to build the product. You have to launch the product. You have to market the product. You have to automate the delivery of the product. And you have to get all of that stuff done and then get that thing selling, get at least some sales coming in for that product every single day. Once that's automated and systemized, then you can bring your work hours way, way down because it's very automated now. So you can spend just a couple hours a week on it, maybe just to maintain it. Now all that time is freed up to go do the next thing. But most people never get that far. They quit way before they ever reach that point. So you have to kind of just like force yourself to focus and just tell yourself like, eventually I'm going to be able to do the next thing, but not yet. I'm going to finish this thing. I'm going to get it working before I think about moving on to the next thing. And you can keep that next thing in the back of your mind. You can start planning it and start thinking about it, like what that next path you're going to take is, but don't let it sidetrack you from the thing that you're doing. So what I recommend you do is use something called the Splinter Scaling method. This is where you start with one offer, one product that you're selling, and you let everything evolve naturally from that one thing. So maybe you start with a digital product of some kind on a certain topic. And when you create that and you get some customers for that product, you might find out that those customers need something else. Maybe they have another problem that they need solved. So that might give you the idea for the next product, right? So you start with the one thing and then you just allow that to evolve naturally over time instead of trying to like plan 100 steps ahead. You can take that one thing that you created and you can maybe splinter pieces of it off into other products, or you can just use that product as a way to get an audience, to build an audience. So now you have customers who you can then sell other things to. So you're kind of like building a waiting list sort of for the next thing you do. So that's one of the main strategies that I've used in my business that has worked extremely well. Basically what I'll do is I'll create a low ticket product and then I'll run ads to that product. The cost of the product, like how much people pay for the product, covers the cost of the ads, which allows me to just keep reinvesting that money back into the ads. So basically I'm getting free customers every single day, like dozens of customers buying this product every single day because the ad cost is covered by the cost of the product. So I don't necessarily make a ton of profit on that first product that people buy, but what that's doing is it's building up a list of customers that I can still contact because I have these people's email addresses, right? So if I have other products that I want to launch in the future, which as a creative person, I'm definitely going to have lots of other things that I want to create in the future, right? But I now have this audience that I can sell those things to. So now the next thing that I do is going to be even more successful than the first thing I did because now I have an audience, a bigger audience to sell that thing to. So each project that you do is stair-stepping your way up and making the next thing easier and easier and easier. That's the importance of momentum. That's why you have to get one thing working first, because when you get that one thing working, it's going to make the next thing you do way, way easier. So I hope you got some value from this. If you want this full framework here, you can download it at the link below. I'll see you in the next one.